Hi everyone, Tom Panos for the Real Estate Gym interview. I was finishing some training with the great Kollosche group. Many would say the best real estate single business in Australia based on numbers. And I've got with me the fearless leader, Michael Kollosche. Many of you would have seen Michael speak at ARIC not too long ago. But today we're going to have a 20-minute conversation to talk about leadership, talk about effective business units, super teams, success, because not only does he do it, but he's got a great helicopter view. Some of the EBUs that he's got in this business unit do more than most real estate companies do in Australia. How are you, Michael?
Very good, thanks, Tom.
How many years in real estate now?
25.
25. You happy you picked real estate?
I did have 5 years off, so 20 of actually working.
So sorry, the five that you weren't working, so 20 plus 5.
Yep.
Has real estate been good for you?
Yeah, real estate's been great. So, especially since I've been back this last sort of through most of my career it was good, but it's been very rewarding this last 5 years since we started our own business, and I've really enjoyed it.
Michael, I've been coming into your offices, actually not even this office, an office before that was a fraction of this office. You had a business partner, you had 5 or 6 people hanging around there. It was like a small real estate company. And I look at it today, it's October 2023. How many staff is in this business?
Between the various departments, we've got 125.
Okay, big business, big numbers. How many EBUs do you think you've got in this business?
We've got 12 EBUs, and then there's 28 lead agents, so a total of 38 selling with sales associates.
Okay. I want you to focus on those EBUs. You know, the Sams and the Troys, yep. Right? If you start thinking about those businesses, what have you noticed that great EBUs have, super teams have in common?
I think the key is structure. Structure and systems create capacity, so you've got to have roles and responsibilities clearly defined. And if you don't have a PA, you are the PA. If you have a PA, but you don't actually have clearly defined roles and responsibilities, no one knows what they're responsible for. So for us, we're structured in a manner where a lead agent can run through the day and throw everything over their shoulder and know it's going to get caught and executed. And when you can actually know that's going to happen with confidence, you don't have to look behind you. And so I think with us, what we find is we've structured every component of the business and every role there so that the system is the same consistently. So in my team, if I go and list a property, I'll come back, I'll hand that Form 6 to Monique, and Monique knows exactly what she has to do. And the next time I'm involved or in front of that client is when the property's going live. So she manages all the production, everything else. Susie will manage all of the calendars. She's our team manager, so all the appointments, emails, contracts, following up on anything administrative, and also manages the team. And then Matt will help me with in a sales associate capacity, so managing pipeline, following up leads, things that I am trying to catch. So my phone is structured because I'm extremely busy through the day running the business and also selling, where if I don't take a call, after 5 rings, it'll go through to him. So he catches that, and then he farms that message off to wherever it needs to go. Like they're executed himself. It might be a listing appointment. It might be a buyer. Might be something business related that'll go off to our general manager. So you have to live your life by design, which means you have to have everything structured in a manner where everything's going to be, or you'll succeed by default.
Okay. So essentially what you're saying is the best EBUs have got predictable, repeatable behaviours, and that people are clear on what those behaviours are, and people understand that this is what I do, this is what you do, this is what you do. May I ask you, when you look at the lead agent above the teams, what do you notice about the personalities of these guys and girls? What makes them so successful?
Mostly I find that they are quite humble, very personable, approachable, but very hungry. And they like everyone to win, but they want to just work really, really hard. They'll chase every lead. They communicate well with their team. So they're probably the key things or key components when I look at the various teams. they've managed to get over their fear of objection and fear of offending, and they just go through their day and chase everything with conviction.
You said earlier on in the training session today, the only thing that is stopping you is the narrative and story that you have about a situation. Tell us more.
Yeah, look, so most people obviously go through life with all these limiting beliefs, and there's a whole heap of reasons. For some people, the office is too big, the office is too small, I can't do this person took my lead. There's whatever excuse they want to tell themselves. Someone else is paying for marketing, someone else is doing it for 1%. Ultimately, you get really good at your craft, all the objections disappear. And you have to take 100% ownership over where you are and where your team's at. Something goes wrong in my team, it's my fault. No one else's. And like I had an instance the other day where something went wrong, and one of the team members was so concerned that she thought I was going to get upset with her that apparently she was almost about to throw up. And I went in, opened the door, she was talking with my general manager, and they all looked at me and I was like, what's wrong? They told me. I said, so what did you learn from it? So, and ultimately you've got to unpack every situation, understand, how can I do this better? How can I make sure that doesn't happen again? What are the pitfalls? So everything we've done, we've reverse engineered. So we've started with the end in mind and worked our way backwards, and that's how we've ended up with the levels of growth that we've had.
You've had a track record of people joining the business that were riding X, and then they're riding X plus 40% or X plus 50%. You've seen that happen. You've also seen agents that were riding levels, for some reason they drop off, they get off track. I want to talk about those two issues. What are 5 non-negotiables that you think great agents have? When you look, and I'm talking about the people, I'm talking about the Marcos. They might not be, because they might not be riding the 2, 3, 4 million, but you can tell direction over speed. They're heading in the right direction. They're a $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 performer about to become $1 million. What are some of the things you notice, non-negotiables about these people?
How you do anything is how you do everything. So you've got to have a best practice standard with everything. So it comes down to the quality of the CMAs, the quality of the contracts, the attention to detail around the copy, the questions that you ask through the listing presentations, just making sure that you're doing all of those little things and you're not rushing. That's probably a big part. It's discipline. It's the habits that they form. So most of the guys that are doing really, really well in our business, they have really good discipline. So they're fit, they're healthy, they're at the gym, they've got a great balance. You can't run through this business and be out partying, and you'll never hit the peaks of your career when you've got a brain fog because you're too busy doing other things and making stupid decisions because you don't have clarity. So I think for a lot of them, you work harder on yourself, and then ultimately everything else shows up. So we've got a netter in the business, and she's been with us now for 4.5 years. Her role there is to give people a cuddle when they need it and a kick in the ass when they need that. So she calls hard truths on them and actually will point out when they're self-sabotaging and try and get to the root of the problem and actually call bullshit on them if they're not doing what they need to do, because ultimately the person that is stopping you from succeeding 9 times out of 10 is you. And if we can get your home life and your health right, everything else starts to follow suit.
Okay. Michael, finally, I still remember it would have been around 204, 205. It was on the Gold Coast. I was interviewing you in a panel. In fact, you were the guy I plagiarised the term attraction agent. At the time, I think it came out of your mouth a little bit of an accident. I sort of said to you, what is it that makes people so successful like you? And you sort of said, oh, well, you attract business. It comes to you. You run an attraction business. And I thought, bingo, that's a term. I've got a trademark, the attraction business. So that was in 206, 205. I still remember.
Could have retired if I got royalties on that one.
100%. 100%. It's been good. I want to ask you, since then, you're an agent, sales agent then, you run your own EBU, you're now a leader. You're leader of a big business. Many would say the highest in GCI of a single office. I want to ask you, what have you learnt being a principal running a real estate company? Because a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people turn around, I'm a great salesperson, I'll be a great principal. That doesn't always work, because when you're a principal, you're listing properties. Sorry, when you're an agent, you're listing properties. When you're a leader, you're listing people, right? What have you learned about leadership?
Look, it's got some similar principles, but you've genuinely got to care for either your clientele as an agent or for your team as a principal, and you want to see them succeed, and you want to help them. And when you have that genuine care for them, like, to me, we do everything to help them personally, professionally. I try and let them learn from my mistakes. We put things in place so that to help them avoid pitfalls where we can. We do a lot of training, mindset stuff, rather than just like, to me, real estate's like tennis. Djokovic is the best because he's got the best mindset. And he beats them before they even get on the court most of the time. And if you can control that, you can control everything. And so we spend a lot of time on that. But probably coming back to the attraction agent, if you're an introvert, or if you don't like prospecting, or you don't like picking up the phone, then you need to market the hell out of yourself so the phone rings. And I've got agents in here that are very much like me. That's why I built that business, because I hated cold calling. I don't think I've ever door knocked in my life. And it's not something I'd ever want to do. So I thought, well, how am I going to get the phone to ring? I need to be the authority on real estate in my marketplace. And to do that, you need to be better than everyone else. You need to understand the market better than anyone else. You need to be a strategic advisor to these people, and you need to provide them with hyper-local, relevant content to them. They won't unsubscribe if you are giving them stuff that is making a difference and is relevant to them. So it's about building that persona, and if you can do that, then the rest is easy.
Well, I've got to tell you, it's been absolutely wonderful watching from afar this business grow. And you said something very interesting today. When you're an agent, you're caring about your clients. When you're a principal, you're caring about your agents. But I think a happy agent is a better serving agent for their client, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's linked up together. One final thing. You were very kind enough to read out before a pathway speech you wrote for your son as he goes into year 12. I've got to tell you, like, that in itself could have been a TED talk, to be honest with you. A note to my son. That would be a beautiful talk. There were so many things that you covered in there. To anyone that's here, like your son's 18 or 17 maybe.
Soon to be
17. There are people watching this that are 20, 21, 22. Never went to uni maybe. Were told that they're not going to succeed. They're in real estate. Who knows? They might have even had ADD and they could never study, but they've got the gift of the gab and they want to have a crack in real estate. What were some of the lessons out of that pathway speech you wrote for your son that would be relevant to a 22-year-old watching this?
Look, I think for most people, it's doubt that people plant through your whole journey in your life. People are constantly telling you can't do things, or be careful, and you've got to get beyond that. You've got to self-educate. For me, some of the lessons that I wanted to impart on him are some of the hard ones that I learned through life. Around investing and putting where I put my money and how I make it, and investing in various disruptors, but not rushing into things that I don't understand.
Oh, there was one bit of brilliance. I was listening to that talk where you actually said, and I'm not saying it as eloquently as you, but you actually said, listen to the advice, but also work out what's the agenda of the person that's giving you the advice.
Because sometimes you'll find that people have a bias with the advice that they give you. But on the flip side, I've always seen like clients will sometimes take the advice of an Uber driver over an expert. So it's you've got to be mindful of all these things when you go through. And I think it was pretty involved. It was a long speech that I wrote there, or a long letter. But for the most part, you're only here once, and too many people treat it like a dress rehearsal. And I know that term probably gets used over and over, but you've got to really step up and have a crack, because you have to have 100% ownership of where you are at in life. And stop blaming everyone else, and stop blaming your mum or your dad or your girlfriend or your partner or your wife or your kids, or like everyone's got an excuse or a reason. People have got an excuse why they're unhealthy, or like ultimately you've got to get up, you've got to do the work, you've got to have the discipline, you've got to hustle. And if you do, and you set these rules in your life, you'll become successful. It's not a difficult thing to do once you can have that discipline and want it enough.
My oncologist once said, Michael, when I said to him, but Dr. Larson, you know that cancer, there's a genetic factor to it. He says, I'm not disputing that. He says, genetics load the gun, but we pull the trigger. Which basically means stuff does happen, but you can also impact the trajectory of your life. Yes, you're born with poor parents. Yes, things weren't good. Yes, she dumped you, but it's what you do about the event that happens.
And it's unpacking all the things, good or bad, that happen in your life. Every time we have an issue in here in the office, whether it's something that goes wrong, okay, so what happened? What did we learn from it? What can we put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again? We might roll something out with the team and it all goes pear-shaped and everyone gets frustrated. Okay, well, we've just had a really bad experience. How can we ensure that doesn't happen again? Or we spoke before about someone that had just been through 4 different PAs. So
maybe the problem's not the PAs.
And that's what I said. So we need to understand. So when we're recruiting, we need to recruit the right person that wants to fulfill the role that you want. So it's just all of these different things. There are lessons, but the problem is most people don't look at the lessons, or they don't analyze the lessons, and they just keep plowing through. Like you look at Ray Dalio principles. Like he's probably that'd be one of the best books you can read to go through and understand someone who's one of the best investors in the history of the world. And they look back at all of these different things and work out, okay, what are the lessons that I'm taking away from this so that I don't keep repeating my mistakes.
Well said. Great book. Michael Kollosche, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.